All right, now, obviously, when any international figure, including a First Lady, historic one of that, dies, it is big stuff. It does get page one attention, leading broadcast attention across the world. So imagine my surprise when I read a lot of the immediate obituaries on Nancy Reagan, where it's fair to go over controversial parts of their lives, maybe unpleasant parts of their lives, but in the lead paragraph or the second paragraph or the third paragraph, I want you to look at this from the Washington Post. Mrs. Reagan had a knack for inviting controversy, from her spending habits to her requests that the White House abide by an astrologer when planning the president's schedule. This is from the same paper that said after the death of Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, in the 35 months that John Fitzgerald Kennedy was president, his young and beautiful wife captivated the world with her understated elegance, her whispery voice, her picture-perfect children, and her commitment to culture. Now, none of that is bad, to bring the good stuff up about Jacqueline Kennedy, to bring the good stuff up about Nancy Reagan. But wait a minute, where was the good stuff about Nancy Reagan? If you're going to go into controversy on one, shouldn't you go into controversy on all? Or should you subscribe to my rule that a 48-hour moratorium on bad stuff, not speaking ill of the dead, until 48 hours after they have died? I don't know. Not fair, not balanced. Former Attorney General to Ronald Reagan, Ed Meese. Ed, I thought it was tacky. I thought it was tacky. I thought it was rude. And I thought it was insulting. What about you?
Well, I certainly agree with you. And the unfortunate thing is there was so much good to talk about. Nancy Reagan was a very pivotal individual, probably one of our greatest first ladies. She certainly was a great source of encouragement and strength to her husband, and I believe a significant factor in his successes. But beyond that, she also made a number of contributions herself, one of which, of course, was what she did to support him and to encourage the anti-drug program during the 1980s, which resulted literally in hundreds of thousands of lives being saved, particularly among young people. That was only one of many things she did.
No, you're right on that, Ed, and you think about it, and I'm all for it, but, you know, you have to be balanced. No one's life is perfect. No one is perfect, and no one is an angel. But could you say that if you're going to rush it to print in an obituary, does it really have to be in the front paragraph, second or third paragraph in a rewrite? Couldn't it go near the end? I mean, just as I was reading through Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis's obits, and she was a transformational figure in her own right. Youngest First Lady we ever had, a young widow, 2.5 years into her husband's presidency. I mean, that goes without saying. But if you're going to dig up dirt and mention, you know, insinuate things about one First Lady, shouldn't you subscribe to that for all?
Well, I personally think it'd be better to print or to broadcast the good things about any First Lady,
Absolutely.
particularly in the introduction or the first paragraph,
Absolutely.
but also to remember what they did that contributed so much to this country. And I doubt if there was a First Lady who didn't have something to contribute, and certainly Nancy Reagan had a lot that she did, in fact, contribute, including dressing up the White House, the style, the way in which foreign dignitaries were honored. All of those things
But
were
by the way,
much
Ed, it
more.
was her spending that got the attention, nothing of Jackie Kennedy spending, which was fine. And later on, that was part of a large effort to bring culture and to bring the White House back up to speed. I'm not even judging it now. I am saying it's fair to target her spending and say nothing at the time of another First Lady spending. You see the good in all their works.
Well, in Nancy's case, you know, she was not spending taxpayers' dollars. She was getting contributions from people who were glad to contribute to sprucing up the White House.
Dramatic detail left out. That's a very important, good detail.
Absolutely.
But let me ask you, you talk about that and what she did. She was very protective of her husband, as most First Ladies are, and that she was sort of like the yin to his yang, that you obviously knew both far better than I, but that Ronald Reagan was almost too nice. So she was the one who had to take tough measures sometimes. Not nasty measures, but take things if she felt her husband or his agenda was getting compromised.
Well, what she did was she gave him advice, sometimes advice about people. She had a pretty good eye for who was helpful and who wasn't, but also she gave him ideas, but she never really interfered with what was going on inside the White House. I never had a time in the years that I knew him as governor, when I served him there, or in the White House or as Attorney General, where I thought she was interfering in any way. More than that, she was really a source of tremendous encouragement to him and support, and that was what made him, I think, such a successful president.
you know what I think, and so many people know, so many who've been dealing with Alzheimer's or horrible neurological conditions, for the 10 years she was taking care of Ronald Reagan, slowly slipping away. And I think it was a Luke Cannon biography, I might have it wrong, Ed, who said that she walked into a room and he didn't recognize her, and the impact that had of an entire marriage, you know.
Well, I think there were times, but I know most of the time he did recognize her, and he was so grateful for her support and her just being with him. You know, during the time that he was, long before any Alzheimer was suffered, it was just the idea of being with her that was such an important thing for him.
Well put.
And particularly at night, going home to her, weekends at Camp David with her, riding horseback or doing other things together there. This was very important to him, and it fueled his intellectual and his emotional batteries to the point that he was so successful during the rest of the week as president.
Well put. Ed Meese, thank you very, very much. I don't think there is any greater testament to a marriage, for Ed's point, about how you deal with them in sickness.